Now, although there's much more that we can say about the United States government's assault on black and brown people in America and in the West Indies, this is enough to affirm the truth of the Honorable Louis Farrakhan's announcement given to him on the Great Mother announcement given in 1989, his press conference, based on what he received from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad on the wheel in 1985, and that is that the U.S. government was planning a war against the black people of America, the Nation of Islam, and himself. So the war plan devised and implemented during the Reagan administration extended through the presidential administrations of succeeding presidents up to this very one today, Joseph Biden. Now, when we examine the work of the Honorable Louis Farrakhan since 1981, and specifically since 1985, he has exposed and opposed the U.S. government's warmongering efforts. Again, he opposed the war against Libya by Ronald Reagan in 1986. He opposed the war in Iraq by George H. Bush, president at that time, and he opposed the war on terror by the son of George H. Bush, George W. Bush, in 2001, issuing divine warning and guidance to those presidents who implemented these destructive wars. Now, can we surmise in retrospect that during their meeting in 1985, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad charged the Honorable Louis Farrakhan with the task of interfering with all of the U.S. president's efforts to make war on the nations of the earth? Even though the Honorable Elijah Muhammad mentioned a war, singular. Well, we could presume this, but it's more sensible to call the quest of the Honorable Louis Farrakhan to fulfill his assignment or this directive, a journey towards achieving that ultimate goal. Now, I want to ask a question to all of you, because maybe we have not properly assessed why the Honorable Louis Farrakhan is vilified by the satanic mass news media. So is the Honorable Louis Farrakhan's consistent interference with the wicked plans of the international warmongers the reason why he is publicly vilified, called anti-this and anti-that? Well, think on that question. Well, it's natural to presume that the war that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that President Reagan was planning was against a particular nation, even though the Honorable Elijah Muhammad did not say that specifically to the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. Again, during their meeting on the Great Mother Plain on September 17, 1985. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad identified no nation as the target of this war. He simply said a war was being planned by President Reagan and his Joint Chiefs of Staff. Well, what war? Or what, better question is, what is the culmination of this war? And if it is a culmination, does it extend, this war plan extend to what we are seeing right now today? Well, where are you going with this, Brother Karriem? In the Supreme Wisdom lessons given by Master Fard Muhammad to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, we have a lesson called Lost Found Muslim Lesson Number 2. But it is also called First Term Examination Assignment of Mr. Elijah Muhammad. Now, this lesson opens with the following statement. And this lesson contains questions asked by Master Fard Muhammad and answered by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. The questions were posed and they were answered. Then when this was packaged, there was an introductory note at the beginning of the lesson. And this note says from Master Fard Muhammad, this lesson is answered very near correct, and all students should read and study it until he or she can recite it by heart. Now, very near correct does not mean incorrect. He didn't say that. It does not mean it's wrong. He didn't say that either. And why would he tell us to read, study, and recite it if it was incorrect and wrong? It means that the answer is close to completion and that there's a little more ways to go. Very near correct. That's correct. A goal. Nearer, 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 very near. Correct. It's a journey towards the completion of an assignment. So the Messiah's work is not an examination on paper. His examination or lesson is his journey in the fulfillment of the messianic prophecies. So it would be 40 years from this lesson, which was given in 1934, that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad would complete his examination. So the Honorable Louis Farrakhan's fulfillment of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's instructions given on the Great Mother Plain was and is a journey. And as we know, 1989 was 32 years ago, so it is conceivable that the war that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad instructed the Honorable Louis Farrakhan to make known, at least this aspect of it, is currently in its final stages of implementation. This war is the prophesied global war of desolation, which is absolutely attached to the Messiah's departure from among the people according to the messianic prophecies. Now let us revisit this prophecy, since an increasing number of people believe that the Honorable Louis Farrakhan is the Messiah. They're starting to speak about him in those terms. Well, it states in the book of Daniel, where the Messiah's name is mentioned, it states, 70 weeks are determined upon thy people and upon thy holy city to finish the transgression and to make an end of sins and to make reconciliation for iniquity and to bring in everlasting righteousness and to seal up the vision and prophecy and to anoint the most holy. Know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem unto the Messiah the Prince shall be 7 weeks, and 62 weeks. The street shall be built again, and the wall, and even in troublous times. And after 62 weeks shall Messiah be cut off, but not for himself. And the people of the prince that shall come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary, and the end thereof shall be with a flood. And unto the end of the war, desolations are determined. And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. And in the midst of the week, he shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease. And for the overspreading of abominations shall he make it desolate, even until the consummation, and that determined shall be poured upon the desolate. Now, of course, for those who believe that Jesus was the Messiah or Jesus of 2,000 years ago was the Messiah, you don't have to be concerned with this prophecy, because you wouldn't know what it means anyway. But again, the Messiah appears at the end of this world of Satan, and that was not obviously 2,000 years ago. Well, these events spoken of in Daniel prophesied align with Jesus' prophecy regarding the end of times that we read previously. Again, since the Messiah comes at the end of the world of Satan, and he comes to end Satan's world. Now let us connect the crucifixion of Jesus to the prophecy of Daniel. Because in this Bible, the Old Testament prophecies are of the Messiah. And those who wrote the gospel attempted to make it appear as though Jesus of 2,000 years ago was the Messiah who fulfilled the Old Testament prophecies. But they made big mistakes, because they included Jesus's prophecies of the end of time. So he could not have been talking about himself when he prophesied of later days. Well, it states in the Gospel of Luke, comparing the two, the prophecy in Daniel with Jesus's prophecy that we read earlier. It states, "And he, Pontius Pilate, released unto them him that for sedition and murder was cast into prison, whom they had desired." Meaning they had a choice to make. They didn't choose Jesus. They chose Barabbas, is his name given elsewhere. Continue, "But he delivered Jesus to their will. And as they led him away, they laid hold upon one Simon, the Cyrenian, coming out of the country, and on him they laid the cross, that he might bear it after Jesus. And there followed him a great company of people, and of women, which also bewailed and lamented him," meaning Jesus. "But Jesus, turning unto them, said," and according to the scriptures, this is all he said on the way to Calvary, "Daughters of Jerusalem, weep not for me, but weep for yourselves and for your children. For behold, the days are coming, in which they shall say, Blessed are the barren women, and the wombs that never bear, and the paps which never gave suck." Now, clearly, most of those who preach about Jesus' crucifixion fail to mention his words to the daughters of Jerusalem. Notice Jesus did not say mothers. He said daughters because he was referring to future events, and that these daughters would become mothers. This may allude to perhaps a protracted war. Now, in Jesus's lament to the daughters of Jerusalem, warning and alert, you can call it, is there any greater pain than what a mother experiences when she is told that her child has died or was killed? Now, I'm not a mother. I will have pain as a father, which I am. But I would argue that there's no greater pain than what a mother who carried her children or that child experiences when somebody tells her that child was killed or died. So Jesus is saying that those who will not have children of age to fight on foreign soil will be spared the pain of loss of their sons resulting from this great war of desolation. Now, some of you may say, well, that's your interpretation. That's the Messianic prophecies. You are more than welcome to present yours, but I know you don't have one. I saw some comments made on some of my lectures by so-called, I believe it's Muslims, they have Arabic names. that my interpretation of the Holy Quran is so off base. That's just one statement in a period. Well, how would I know since you didn't present yours? You don't have one. So mine can't be off base if you ain't presenting yours. You don't have one. You wouldn't know the Quran if I buried you in 1,000,000 of them. Just because you Arabic don't mean all of a sudden you should know something. Obviously not. Look at the Arab world. And by the way, why are you here in the country when this government's bombing yours? Just a group of goddamn hypocrites. So when we consider this prophecy that we just read concerning Jesus's walk to Calvary to be crucified, against the prophecy given in Daniel of the Messiah's cutoff, we can connect the events related to the Messiah's cutoff, meaning that he's cut off. Then there's some destruction that takes place in the sanctuary in the city, followed by a flood, and then the war of desolation. Well, today we don't have to consider the math regarding the prophecy of the Messiah's cutoff, the 62 weeks, because the Honorable Louis Farrakhan recently affirmed his own cutoff. Therefore, our expectation should be the U.S. government's seizure of the assets of the Nation of Islam, the incoming flood of propaganda against the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, followed by the escalation of the global war of desolation.